Thank you. Cool. Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Daniel. Okay, and we're going to talk today about the end-to-end testing with AI. It's not so easy, and we will see why. We'll start about myself, of course, and my clicker doesn't work. Okay, so we'll be here. Okay. So I'm Daniel Ostrovsky. I'm software senior principal engineer at Dell. I work for the project that named Edge. If you want to have your own big, huge machine in your site on premise with AI on it, with a lot of GPUs, come to me, talk about it. I'm a developer of more than 25 years, more than quarter of century. Okay, I'm old, yes. I'm a full cycle evangelist. Basically, my belief is all engineers, if you want to be an engineer in our age, in our time, in our technologies, you have to be aware of all aspects of the development, starting from the infrastructure all the way to the development, delivery, CI/CD, testing, monitoring, and everything. You can be spec or professional in specific area, but to understand and to be able to manage and maintain or kind of to understand what's going on in all aspects. Okay, so that's my belief. I'm a public speaker and public writer on 4 languages: English, Hebrew, Russian, and Ukrainian. So if I'm going to jump from one language to another, sorry, I was born in Ukraine. I lived for the last 30 years in Israel, and now I'm in Singapore speaking English. That's a little bit over. I'm open source contributor, volunteer, meetup runner. And this is pictures of my hobbies. So what we're up to do? We're going to talk about generative AI ecosystem. I know that there's a lot of talks about it, a lot of articles about it, but I want us to be kind of aligned before we go into actual AI testing. Okay, just going to make some alignment. Prompt engineering, unit testing with AI, a little bit, and UI end-to-end testing with AI, and why it's cool and why it's not obvious. So what are the common tasks of generative AI? Software programming and code generation. Okay, AI or large language models such as OpenAI, Codex, GitHub Copilot, Llama, many others. Okay, they are basically changing how we develop, how we write our software. Right. So these tools provide the code completion, help us in debugging, and can generate code, and many other cool things. Test case generation can automate the creation of tests and test cases, okay, based on the product, for example, to craft test case for QA, for automation. Documentation. How many of you like to write the documents and documentations and comments? How many of you? 1, 2, 3, that's it? Okay, everyone else, get out. So basically, AI really can help you with this, okay, based on if you write, at least I hope you write the meaningful code with meaningful function names and variable names. Basically, AI can help you to write the good documentation for this and make it automatically for you, and that's really good. We really like it, especially if you work on the shareable code. Bug fixing and troubleshooting. One of the most useful things that I use in AI is to take the minimized, the minified code, JavaScript code, okay, on one line, something not working, and it's very difficult to understand what's going on, where is the bug. Just copy paste, throw it to AI, ask him to beautify and set the meaningful names, and it will do it. It's great. Instead of A equal to A, U, R, all these just little letters, okay, it's become like meaningful function names with the meaningful variable names, and it actually helps you to understand what's going on in the function and how to fix and where is the bug, okay? What else? Code refactoring, also very helpful with the best practices. It shows where things can be changed, okay? And many other things. Automated programming assistance, Okay. So what about this? Basically, like entire technology. Okay, we have the open source, community-based, and commercial one. Okay. Some of the commercial ones, there's a safe coder. It's enterprise for enterprise by Hugging Face, GitHub Copilot. Who have tried GitHub Copilot? Who have it? Okay. Who have it more than 2 years? Okay. Codium, also one of the dedicated for the development codes. Okay, 70 different languages. Replit and some others. Open source. Now the open source, that's interesting. Okay, I believe that open source ecosystem for the AI model generation, data sets, etc., like the entire ecosystem is something that basically will move the AI and the AI generation forward. Okay. So there are many code generation models. Okay. Let's focus on the ecosystem that's called Big Code. Is a community project joined by Hugging Face and ServiceNow, focused on the open source code generation systems. The recent excellent family of models are StarCode, a kind of weird name, and trade on the stack. Okay, the stack, it's kind of set of data that a lot of models was trained. Llama is one of the models that was trained on the stack. So what is the stack? The stack is actually the dataset collection that they went to the GitHub, took a lot of, did git clone, okay, for more than 200 million of repo. There is some kind of data processing, okay, it's become 102 terabytes of data. Some of them, cleaning some kind of file extensions, licensing, because if license does not allow you to reuse this code, if it's not MIT license or not Apache, so you're not able to reuse it. So licensing is also was one of the filters. And then it's the duplication and stuff, and then it's become a 2.9 terabyte of data. Okay, that was the stack version 1. The stack version 2, it was way more repo names, etc., way more sources of code, not only the GitHub, there's others too, and it's become 32 terabytes of data. This is what Llama 2 was trained on. And Llama 3, by the way, I just didn't update the slide, sorry. It's not saved. Okay, but Llama 3 is, like, by the way, V1 was trained on 200 billion tokens, V2 is 900 billion tokens, and Llama 3.1, the last one that was just went out a few days ago, was released a few days ago, it's about 2 trillion tokens. Okay, it's 1 petabyte of data. That's what the Llama 3.1 was trained on, with this huge model that they have 405 billion of tokens, etc. So that's kind of huge. I even have no idea what the machine can run this model. Okay, so it's kind of. But if you want such machine, come to us, and there we have it. Okay, so what are the mostly used methods of training and inference? Prompt engineering. Okay, prompt engineering is a process of iteration, a generative AI prompts to improve our results. It's funny, but the technology changes the way how we behave. Okay, like the simple example is our phone. It's used to be, when it's become first and polyphonic, we was hearing the phones ringing all the way, right? It was this polyphonical sound. It was cool. Okay, and now we're trying to keep it safe, keep it quiet, and nobody needs to hear it, and they don't want to hear my sound, etc. It should be like very, very, very quiet, because we don't want to disturb anyone. So technology changed the way we behave. Same with the generative AI. We need to train ourselves. It's not training for the model, training for ourselves how to communicate with generative AI, how to ask the questions. Okay, what are the best way to ask the question of the AI? Okay, to get the best results, because I want to get the best results. Similar like with the employer. Okay, if we have someone in our team, the new person was hired, we need to start learn how to communicate with this person. Okay, how we get best of it. Okay, to make him work and perform as best as as developer can, or she. A few shots, meaning give a few examples to the model in the prompt and accept the model to learn from it and to generalize. Does it mean that we kind of provide fake communication? And based on this fake communication, we want the model to respond similar. Okay, we'll show it later. RAG, Thor talked about RAG before, okay, the great explanation. Basically, in simple sentence, just to provide extra context to AI, to the model, you want to communicate based on. Okay, I have a Harry Potter book, the new book, okay, wasn't released before. AI model have no idea about it, never trained it on it, but I can give this book as a RAG, as additional context, and actually ask questions about it. And fine-tuning, that's actually fine-tuning, working on the model itself, changing the model, changing the weights inside of the model. That needs a lot of compute time. Even for the small models in GPU, you need many other things. That's less for us. Okay, it's more like for the companies, big computers, a lot of compute, etc. So prompt engineering. Okay, this is one of the examples of the structure how we communicate. Instead of hey, give me something, create something. Okay, that's kind of a structure that you need to invest a little bit more into it to provide a specific task, given the context, information, additional context that can steer the model to the better responses. Input data, the input of the question, what we're talking about, and actually the output indicator, the format we want to see it. Okay, so if you want a specific format, give it, tell it, say it. Okay, I want it in JSON, I want it XML, I want it comma separated, I don't want any punctuation, I want everything lowercase, I want everything uppercase, so it has to be provided. In that case, you will get the best response that you need. The few shots, as I said, is similar to, it's like you create a conversation, okay? Question, answer, that you like. Okay, you just create this conversation by yourself, including the answers, and then you provide it to the model, and you ask him the one more question, okay, to continue. And then basically, model should be able to continue this conversation from the point where you stopped. This is simple way of explanation what is a few shots. Okay, like for example, system test. Okay, please write the test case that generates a user creation, and actually you provide the test case that you like. Okay, then you write again. Please write the test case for MFA enablement, and this is the test case that you like. Another test, another request, another test code that you like, and then you just ask the question and you leave the response empty, hoping from AI to fill it up based on the previous conversation. Okay, this is actually the easiest way to provide, if you're talking about the coding, writing the code, either it's a testing code or regular code, this is the way how we can explain to AI, to model, the style of our code. Okay, how do I like to write it? Okay, what the indentation I like, how I want to be, it's functional, class-based, etc. So when I'm providing the examples of the specific code, model will learn will respond based on this provided my answers on my questions. Okay, and will actually provide the same similar response. Okay, and the RAG, something that we'll have talked about it. This is an example of the PDF and Llama. To simplify again, we're taking the context. We need to change it to the kind of vector database. Okay, there is several out there. Vector storage, and then there's this system. It's a lot of to read about it, but basically it's pretty simple to create it on your local machines. There is predefined already if you're using Dockers. So there is a Docker. You can find a lot of Docker Compose YAMLs that just can bring the entire system for you with all the UI on it. Just upload the data that you want, and it will be everything synced, and you can communicate it with based on your context that you want to provide. And context can be anything, books, PDFs. What actually a lot of companies does right now, they take in all the Confluence, right, all the documentation, all the product requirements, and put it into the RAG, into the vector storage, and then everyone can communicate, all developers, product, PDMs, and anyone else, and actually communicate and see and get the entire information about the entire company, okay? In one place, and not just go and look everywhere and trying to find the correct Confluence page. Who use Confluence, or is it just only me? Confluence? Nobody? No one? Jira? Atlassian? Oh, okay. Okay. Everyone hates it. That's okay. So everyone hates it. But I remember when it was a meme when Musk purchased Twitter. There was a lot of memes about Musk, please purchase Atlassian and change UX. Okay, and just update the UX. Make the Atlassian better. Don't make the Twitter better. Make the Atlassian better. Make the Jira better. Yeah. So available open source extensions. Extension is very important. We're going to talk about two. There's the Chat UI, VS Code. The one I prefer to use in my development is Continue. Okay, it's very robust, supports almost all models, all type of models, everything that you need, or everything that you have out there. Llama, local running, API-based, I don't know, on-premise-based, whatever. It just supports so many things and very configurable, very robust, and very mature. Have everything that we need. Okay, chat, auto-completion, suggestion, many cool functionality, and it's open source and supports both IDEs, both main IDEs, VS Code and JetBrains. And it's really cool. And another one, this is the browser extension. It's by danduch.me, so it's by me. This is the extension that I built especially for the to help with the end-to-end testing. It started as a very private project, and now if I have 70 users, okay, so if it's going to be a few more, that'll be great. But that's not about it. But I will use it and I will show why I'm using it, but basically it's not necessary. But if someone wants to try it and help, contribute, it's open source, it will be great. Demo, this specific demo, we will skip. Okay, let's talk about the UI test challenges. Before, who writes unit tests? Cool. Okay, who use AI to write unit tests? Okay, a little bit less, but still. And it's very easy, right? You take the code, you throw it to AI, and you say, give me the test. You don't need to invest a lot of time in it, okay? You just throw in it. All you need to do is just to verify that it works, that it's running. Basically for AI, for Gen AI, for MML, for LLM, it's pretty simple to generate unit tests because it sees the code, it understands the code. All it's needed is just to cover it with the unit tests, okay? The same with the API tests. API tests, we have Swagger, usually, right? YAML, JSON, whatever, some kind of representation of our API endpoint. And all we need is just to provide it to AI, and the AI will absolutely understand how to test it, okay? It's become a little bit more complicated when we're talking about the flows, when we want to have kind of integration test and to use several endpoints, okay? Go to this endpoint, create user, on this endpoint, update user, and on this point, go and check that user have been updated and data is updated. But it's still doable and manageable by AI. It's not so complicated. So what we have with UI? UI is a little bit different. UI have so there is a lot of process from the source code to the render UI that we have. If we will take the code base and we'll throw to AI, it's not going to understand, okay? Because we have our code. Our code usually use third-party libraries. and it's usually like thousands of libraries, okay? Just open your node modules. It uses UI components, that some of these UI components, UI libraries, uses other UI components, okay? It having dependency on dependency on dependency. And that's kind of to everything, all these dependencies and all our code, the way it comes from our code all the way to actually what we see on the UI, because that's what we want to test. We want to test the UI, the final, the end-to-end test. It have a lot of steps, okay? So we have the source code composition is an application is usually, sorry, it's our application, local one. So it's usually used using a combination of HTML, CSS, programming languages like TypeScript, okay? Then compilation and transpiling. The TypeScript code is transpiled into JavaScript, making it understandable by web browser. Bundling and transformation. Tools like Webpack, Vite, and some others are used to bundle the JavaScript along with the HTML and CSS into smaller number of files. And this process may include minification to reduce the file size, and transpilation to convert the modern JavaScript, okay, the old syntax sugar, into the compatible for the older browsers. And this bundled code is what's actually will be served to the browser, okay? Now this code is already have been changed a lot and looks absolutely different from what we see in our code base, okay? Now the framework-specific rendering, also one of the issues, okay? The UI built with React, it can be built with Angular, it can be built with Vue.js, it can be built with the native, with the lead components, it can be built with different technologies, and the JavaScript bundle includes the framework runtime, which basically usually takes over the rendering processes in the browser, okay? So we ship the code to the browser, okay? But before browser start working on this code, there is some kind of runtime, okay, or renderer, React renderer, Angular renderer, Vue renderer, who actually start playing with this way before it actually touches the browser interpreter. And then the browser rendering. Okay, finally the browser interprets the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to render the visual elements on the UI. Okay, so all these steps from our code that it's readable for us, all the way that browser can understand it and actually render it. That's what makes the change. So there is no way we can take our code base and throw it into the model and ask, write me end-to-end test. Okay, write me the UI test, because it's absolutely different. So, what are the solutions? We have many options. One of them is a visual testing. Okay, take the print screen of my page, show it to AI. Okay, I want to show it to AI and explain him, her, him or her? Them? Okay. Explain them. What actually should be tested. Okay? But even then, if I will take the HTML as is, like rendered HTML, okay, like scraping of the web pages, and I will throw into the AI, in 80% of the times, that will be okay. Why? Because 80% of the applications AI familiar with. It's blogs, e-commerce, news, and some others, right? We have like we have a lot of websites that look similar, right? And that's easy. But when we're talking about the configuration tools, when we're talking about the closed projects, when we're talking about the on-premise applications, when we're talking about the applications that are not accessible from outside, or they're not accessible without actual authorization, authentication, or even really like on-premise, they're running on-premise. There's no way, the code is not open, it's not open source, there is no articles about it. there is no information for the AI to be trained on to understand how actually and what is this application is about, okay? Because if you will throw like to AI and say, hey, this is the e-commerce, it's going to understand, it's going to look for the, I don't know, buy now, put into the basket, checkout process, etc. That's filter of the products. That's something like functionality that everyone knows. The same with the blogs, okay? Read blog, next blog, previous blog, like, unlike, etc. Comment, that's something basic functionality. But when we're talking about the configuration tools, let's say like Amazon console, okay, like AWS, where we're playing with the environments, or some configuration for the spaceship. I don't know if I hope the spaceship don't have the configuration on the web, but anyway. So or stuff like this, okay, something that is not, or configuration web application for the oil machine somewhere in the middle of the ocean, okay. So these applications, they are not accessible from outside. There is no way AI will ever get the information about it and be trained and to understand how to test it, okay. So our task is actually to provide to AI possibility to understand what's going on, and that's our solution. So basically the main solution is to use pretty old best practices in end-to-end testing. One of them, use data attributes, okay? Don't use XPath, don't use CSS selector, ID selector, or anything like this. Use your own data attribute that will be dedicated for end-to-end testing. In our case, we will use data test ID. On the example, on code example, it's going to be data CY. Never mind which one, just need to select one and update all actionable elements in your application with this attribute and give valuable or meaningful name for this, okay, as much as you can. For example, for each button or for each navigation, we have data test ID, sidebar, in this case, for example, side navigation, and the name will be endpoints or dashboard or something like this, okay? These data attributes will help to AI to understand this element and create the selector for this specific element. And the meaningful name will explain and help to understand what it does, and will combine then later with the test cases. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. And the second practice is using of page objects. Who familiar with the page objects? Not many of you. Okay. Page objects, it's actually when you create object, class, or something similar, for specific view, not necessarily the page, but for specific view that holds this functionality, all buttons on this view, some kind of helper functions, okay, to search if there is a lot of elements with the same attribute ID, ability to search by, etc. So it's kind of mini framework, testing framework for yourself, for your tests, okay? And now in this specific example, it's called sidebar page object, right? The sidebar, it's the navigation on the side, and we have selectors and also the helping functions that then I can use it in my tests, okay? And page objects, they are not always changeable. They can change if I'm adding or removing the element, but usually they are pretty static ones, okay? And it's great to have them because basically this is kind of mapping for AI from the UI element, from the UI page to something more closer to machine, okay? Something that AI better to understand, okay? To the code, right? Like in unit test, we will take the code and throw it to the AI and ask for the tests, similar to this. So we will create, this code representation of the page that AI will easier to understand. So what we're going to do now do we have time? No? Okay, so I'm going to skip this step and let's jump into the demo, okay? Can I close it? Yes, okay. So in my demo, here's a Pokemon application. Okay, who likes Pokemons? Cool. Okay, so the Pokemon application is a Pokemon API. It's public and it's easy to use. It's really great. Okay, so the idea is following. I'm using the extension that I showed before. Okay. Okay, so basically this extension, here I'm defining the attribute name that I will use. In our case, it's going to be data CY. Okay, I can select which type of the AI, API key if it's a public AI like OpenAI or something like this, and the model name that I want to use. Okay, also I have here the prompts, the system message. If I want to add the prompt specifically, okay, I can add, this is the system, I can add more, and then I can reuse the system message more and more in different tests. The idea, it's actually to select all the elements with the data ID, with the data attribute. Okay, this is all elements that have data attribute. I also can see the values of this data attribute. Okay, so all I'm doing is actually I will scan. I can see the HTML that I will send to. I will ask, please create the list page. Okay, this is the name of the page object that I want to be created. I'm selecting the system message, and I will ask from the AI to generate the page. To generate the page object based on this. And let's hope the internet works well. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Okay. So here's the response from the AI. Okay. Basically what it does, it has created the entire page object with all the help and function and all the stuff that is I need for this page object. Then I will copy paste it into my code. Okay. And for example here, list page object. Okay. This is the page object. So I have it in my code base now. So I have predefined details page. I have the list page object. That's what I have. Now I want to write the test. Now my test is pretty simple. As a test case, like regular test case based on the PDM, or product requirements, right? As a user, I want to go to the Pokemon list page URL. On the Pokemon list page, I will use the input for searching Pokemon by name, Pokemon, la 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 la. Okay? And here's the extension. The extension continue that I showed before, right? This is the extension. All I'm asking for the extension is, hey, end-to-end test. And for the end-to-end test, please use files, list page object. I also need details page object because I'm jumping into the details. And don't forget the, test case, okay? That's all I'm sending all this data, okay? The extension will take all these files and will send it to AI, okay? And so I don't have extra time to show some cool things, but there's multiple models can be generated here, can be configured, okay?
For me in the future.
Okay, and that's it basically. So all I need is just copy paste into my code base, run.
Is it free?
Huh?
And it's free.
This free.
Oh, nice.
So 5
nice. My AI
the extension is free, absolutely,
future.
and you can configure this /end-to-end is actually the custom, something that you can configure. You press right there the prompt that you want. Okay, it looks like this. Just I really want to show a second. Okay. Here you can define, for example, models. Okay, you are an expert in creating Cypress tests. This is the system message will be sent to the model each time. And also there is custom commands, for example, this one, okay, end-to-end with the prompt, create end-to-end Cypress test based on the data and the data that context that was provided, all the files, page objects, and test case. And basically, as you can understand, you can automate it fully, okay, all this process. It's just step by step.
Now you know what do you find to be your assistant? What is the extension name again?
The extension name for the IDE is it's continue, and for the browser is end-to-end helper.
Okay. Okay. You know what to search on Chrome extension. Also follow Daniel on Twitter. If you happen to have Twitter, everyone have Twitter. They will follow you and me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice. How do you find? Do you still have